Welcome and good morning. I don't want to interrupt your conversations, but I will. Good morning, welcome to this morning. It's cold outside, but warm in here. You have warmed it with conversation and with connection this morning. We gather here together as we always do, and we do so in the midst of community, seeking to build this circle as it is, not just here in this place, but online and wherever we gather. And so welcome to you here, welcome to you online, gathering at home or wherever you happen to be as you're watching us today. As a community, we have been exploring moving from strength to strength. In a transition time, it is helpful for us to recognize what we do well, where we move from here, to have conversations with each other, and to build, to continue to build always as community. We're deepening, we're strengthening, we're expanding. We're doing all of those things at the same time, both personally and as a community. So I welcome you to this time where we can explore part 3 of our Strength to Strength series. As we gather in this place, we also know that we are a place that welcomes all people. As our poster at the door, as many of the things that we are about says, we welcome all sizes, all ages, all stages, all cultures and genders, all sexualities, all religions and traditions, or none or many. We welcome all abilities and statuses and types. So here we are, this eclectic collection of people this morning and every time, and we're all welcome just as we are. I wanted to offer a particular invitation this morning to those of you at home or gathering in Saskatoon this morning, and we'll have a chance to say hello to Saskatoon and to hear from them in a moment. But for those of you that aren't in this particular space, I want to alert you to the fact that we will have a time of sharing a little bit later in our gathering. And if you've got the ability to text, please do prepare to participate with us later on. We want to hear your joys and your concerns at home just as much as we share them here in the room. We're one community in many places. So speaking of Saskatoon, that gives us the opportunity to invite them and to say hello to them and welcome our friends in SSUC Saskatoon this morning, meeting in the lounge at St. Andrew's College. And there they are, and we welcome you, Saskatoon, and they have graciously, we're all waving at you. I don't know if you can see that, but we're all waving at you. You can see me. We welcome SSUC Saskatoon to offer our land acknowledgement this morning and our candle lighting from Saskatoon. Welcome to you all. Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Chris. Whether we are in Saskatoon or Edmonton, the SSUC community gratefully acknowledges that we live on the lands of the strong and diverse First Nations of Treaty 6 and the traditional homelands of the Métis peoples. The First Peoples' mindful, spiritual, and resourceful care of these lands was and is truly an inspiration to those of us who seek to learn ways to live in concert with creation rather than control it. May we continue to move toward living in right relations with Indigenous peoples and with the land. We light this candle for the light of truth that we are forever seeking, for the warmth of love that embraces us in times of joy and in times of sorrow, and for the fire of commitment to one another and all of creation. We light this candle in this space and with those beyond these walls as spiritual seekers truly united in community.
Today, for the Time for All Ages, I want to welcome anyone to the carpet that wants to come to the carpet. Hi, Tyler. Are you all contemplating whether you're coming to the carpet or not? Is that what's happening? I know. Well, you're welcome to come to the front row and sit in a chair as well. That's always possible. Okay. I hate it when that happens. Okay. I brought the candle. This is a candle that we light every time we're here. And it usually sits over there on a little stand. But I brought it here today because we sing a song, and we're going to sing it today, that talks about peace and love. And in this song about peace and love, it talks about the fact that peace and love are kind of like a candle, and that a candle flame needs some care. Why do you think we have to be careful with a candle flame?
Because you can burn yourself?
I totally could burn myself, and I have done when I'm not careful. So when you're careful, hopefully you won't burn yourself. Why else should we be careful with a candle flame? I'll give you a hint to what I'm thinking about. If I took this candle and I ran from here to the back door, what might happen, other than I might fall and burn myself, what might happen to this flame if I went really fast?
Fire.
Fire. What else?
You light your burn, you just burn.
I might burn it. If I move this really fast, the air hits it really fast. What happens when air hits the candle flame really fast?
It goes away.
It does go away, you're right. So if I move this candle too fast and I'm careless about how I move with it, it's going to go out. It's not going to be there anymore. So there are lots of ways that we have to be careful with the candle, not just because it's hot, but also because it could go out and we don't want it to go out. Peace and love are like that. And our song reminds us of that, because if we don't care for love, if we don't take care with the people that are in our lives, the people we care about, well, that love won't be tended as well as it could. It won't be as strong as it could be. So we have to care for it. We have to sometimes protect it. Like if I walk, maybe I'll put my hand here so the air doesn't hit it quite as fast. We have to protect our love and protect peace too, to always be thinking about what would be the loving and peaceful thing to do when I'm playing with my friends or when I'm talking to other people, all the things we do. So this candle will remind us of lots of things, but it also reminds us of how careful we need to be with all of the wonderful things that we do for each other in love and in peace. So I'm going to carefully walk, protecting it, not burning myself, and put it back on its stand. There we go.
You drop it and is it like a wooden house or burn up? Because, fire burns wood.
Yes, very smart. So if I lived in an all-wood house, I would be extra careful with my candle flames, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But this is wood, so the flame will just go out.
If I drop the candle on here, it would probably not burn the place down. You're right. It might make a mark and then someone would have to clean it up. You're right. I won't try that. Okay, so we have our Kids Spirit program this morning, and
It will also go out.
yeah, let's hope not. So I invite you to Kids Spirit this morning, and as you do that, we're going to prepare. There they are, Daisy and Ariana right there. So if you'd like to go with them.
Fire is.
It is quite big, you're right. It's burning really tall today. It knew it had the spotlight. Okay, off you go. We could stay here all day, it's fun, isn't it? We do have some time now to share some invitations with each other, and I want to share a few with you that are just really, really quick before we invite a special guest to be with us and to offer a very quick announcement of what will happen after the gathering today. First of all, you may have noticed some copies of the annual reports in the foyer, on the table. You're welcome to take those today if you don't want to access that online. If you can access it online, you're welcome to. That's available on our website, and a link is in your messenger from Friday. Our AGM, it should be noted, is in 2 weeks this morning. On March the 5th. You're welcome to stay afterward. There will be some plans around lunch which have not quite been finalized yet, so you'll hear more about that in the messenger and in next week's Sunday morning gathering. Also wanted to alert us to the fact that we are a responsive community, and many of you have already asked and been proactive in your ability to help with disaster relief in Syria and Turkey. And we know that many of you would like to help with that. Of course, there are many organizations that you trust that you can donate to disaster relief. But if you would like one that comes with our recommendation, the United Church of Canada has a disaster relief fund, and those funds go almost immediately to helping people, partners on the ground right there with what is needed most. Many of you have heard May speak over the course of the last little while about the coldest night of the year, a Bissell initiative that helps bring awareness and also some fundraising to what we do in the inner city. And today we have a video. May I go ahead? Okay, perfect. Today we have a video from Linda May, who joins us from a long way away where there is no snow on the ground. And Linda would like to speak to us today about the coldest night of the year. Here she is.
Good morning. My name is Linda May, and I'm coming to you from Palm Springs, California, to talk about the coldest night of the year campaign. Rather ironic, isn't it? 2 years ago, in 2021, as part of a team of 6, we walked for Bissell in this same campaign. Thanks to the very generous donations from this congregation, along with family and friends, we raised $5,850, a really grand total. Next Saturday, May Kellerman and her team will be walking once again on behalf of our church to raise funds for Bissell through the Coldest Night of the Year campaign. I am hoping that you will see fit to support them in the same way. The Alberta government has seen fit to offer an affordability payment to some Albertans, and this would be a good way to use that money if you can afford it. Thanks, May and your team, and I hope you get the continued support you need for the Coldest Night of the Year campaign.
And I just want to give you a quick update. We're at the moment at 3,565, which means we're only 435 away from our current goal of 4,000. And I just want to add one thing. I was looking at the weather forecast for the next week and thinking, oh my goodness, what? I mean, I thought the coldest night of the year was behind us, but maybe we will be walking on the coldest night of the year and thinking, oh boy, bundle up and yeah. And it's only 2 kilometers. Shortly after that, a woman walked into my little shop, which is just south of White Avenue. And she, as sometimes some of the houseless walk in, I think they just want to see what's there and maybe warm up a bit. And I looked at her and I said, can I help? And she looked straight back at me and said, I don't think so. So here's our opportunity to help those who need our help so desperately. And I want to thank you for all that you've done and for what we will continue to do.
Judy, you are here. Are there things to say about the refugees? I just know that it's important.
You need to know that I didn't think I was speaking this morning, so I will be short, and I know some of you have timed me in the past. But we are delighted and a touch frustrated to learn as of Tuesday that the family from Syria that was living in Turkey for the last year will be arriving March 2nd at about 3:15 in the afternoon. It's been a 3-year journey of having applications in, rewriting their application, and now it's finally happening. So I know there's many, many very appropriate causes to give to, but if you have items that you think a family would need, a husband, wife, and a little 3-year-old, please either sign the book or the information, or let me know, and please make sure I write it down, because my brain at the moment is a little overflowing with details. And if you have certainly money to donate, as well as to the good cause we just saw, that is needed as well. So join us on this journey. We helped Mohammed, and who is Hussein's brother, and his wife Aisha, and 4 children 5 years ago and about 2 months. So they are going to be very actively involved in the process as well. And for those of you who may not remember, a few of us in the congregation are still in very close contact with Mohammed and Aisha, and see them nearly weekly. So our family is just growing a little bigger. Thank you.
Joyce and Dara, some words from the transition team.
Good morning, especially to those of you who may be online. I want to thank all of you who have been responding to the weekly questions that have been appearing in the messenger. And I have to say, some members of the transition team and maybe the choir, etc., could think about responding and letting us know what you think as well. It's interesting how we kind of assume, folks know what we're thinking about. And we're going to use this information to move us through the process of discerning what it is we want as our priorities as we move into the future. And I mean, we've just heard, right, from folks that have all kinds of interesting things that we as a congregation have supported. And so we need to be clear, right, about what we keep working at and if there are new things that we need to add on. So on March the 12th, which is, my gosh, only 3 weeks away, if the 5th is 2, we're going to have what we're calling a conversation cafe. We will provide you with some food so you can stay after church, and we're going to rearrange this space so you get the opportunity to sit down and share some key questions that come out of the information you have already sent us, and explore with one another what it is that you see as the future of this congregation. So please let us know if you're going to come so we have enough food. I have to say I forgot to do a sign-up sheet, so I very quickly put one together this morning. It's on the table at the back. And those of you who are online, we intend to give you an opportunity to participate as well. So Curtis Tufts has agreed to facilitate the online folks with the Zoom account, and you'll be put into small groups and have an opportunity to share and discuss as well. And Curtis's email address is in the messenger this week. So if you let him know that you're planning to attend, he will make sure you have the contact information you need to carry on and be a participant in all of this process. So we're also talking to other organizations, and Terry has been responsible for that. She's missing from her front seat here today, so hopefully she's watching online. If anyone is interested in helping her explore in the community to learn from others and have others learn about us, I know she would be more than happy to hear from you. And Dara's going to talk about the questions.
Alrighty. All right, so this is week 3 of our questions. Just to let you know before I say what it is, you can still answer questions 1 and 2, and at the end of the month, we're going to have all 4 in the bulletin. I just ask that in your subject lines, you specify which question you are answering, and if you're answering multiple, do it in separate emails, because I have filters on the email, so as they come in, they're put into groups, so that it makes it easier for me to transcribe them. Yeah. Question 3 is, what programs can be newly initiated or revived that will make a difference to our neighbors, extended communities, and the world? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Look forward to the answers.
Exactly. I already know what mine is. I want Affirm brunches back. Those were a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, what didn't you hear? Sorry, online. So we'll just explain who Jimmy is. Jimmy works very effectively at Operation Friendship Senior Society, and he's here today to tell us just a little bit right now, but please stay afterwards for a really longer conversation about the current challenges facing Operation Friendship. Now, an explosion of muffins has happened in the congregation. We have been longing to bake. So muffins out and we'll have some tables around and coffee. So please stay. Even if you can't stay, there are muffins, maybe even for the annual general meeting. So it's all good. So thanks so much for being here, Jimmy. And the mic is on.
Thank you, guys. I'll keep it short and sweet. I've been with our agency for 11 years, and we talk about transition and strength, and that comes from you guys and our community. Operation Friendship Senior Society has gone through a bunch of changes recently, which I'll talk about after today's Mass. The big one effective on February 1st is the closure of our drop-in center and our rooming house until further notice. So I'll go into more details about that after and what that looks like as we pivot. It is exciting times because we look forward. We don't look behind us. We're excited for new volunteer opportunities, what that looks like, support from our different church groups and employee clubs, what that looks like. As we move forward, we can't forget the past, and the past starts with our drop-in center, and it starts with you guys. You guys have been there since the start of the drop-in center. So we just, as kind of COVID taught us, we got to pivot and adjust and look forward. So I'm looking forward to a bunch of questions. I can go into more details after that. But please know, when this news came about, we are not closing our doors. We are still open. We still have wonderful programs. We still have 5 other buildings. We house over 300 seniors, low income. We have recreation programs. We have outreach workers. We have so many programs that people think we're closing our doors with the sad news. This, to me, is an opportunity to build up our volunteer base again with new opportunities and get a new drop-in center. We've wanted this for a long time, so we're going to work towards that. But I'm happy, hopefully all of you guys can come after and share some muffins and share some conversation, because we need input from you guys, especially being there since the start of the drop-in, and what that looks moving forward with you guys. So I look forward to seeing you guys after Mass. Thank you.
Good morning. The reading this morning is from an excerpt from Drinking from the River of Light by Mark Nepo. We bump into and pass by so many torn and budding lives along the way. Some are like us, many are not. On the surface, but under it all, we remain the same ounce of spirit carried in skin and bone. One of our jobs, then, is to learn how to relate to the cascade of others that rise and fall around us. The practice of compassion is how we learn that we are each other. And the practice of expression is how the heart knows itself. Early on in life, there is initiation into the practice of compassion through the commonality of our experience with others. If I have suffered and healed from a broken heart, then when I witness your heart breaking, I can easily identify with what you're going through. If you've lost your job and come into my life when I'm laid off, we can easily meet in our common struggle through adversity. If I felt betrayed by a friend or loved one, and I'm with you when you are betrayed, we can quickly form a bond that will help each other through. This sort of compassion, based on our common experience, is an ongoing apprenticeship that never ends. But over the years, as I've thinned what builds between my heart and the world, I've come to see that this form of compassion, dear and necessary as it is, leads to a maturing of compassion. Once our heart is opened, the practice of identifying with others leads us to the noble act of feeling compassion for those that we have no common experience with. So, when I meet a man who served as a medic in Iraq, whose experience I can't fathom, I still commit to feeling what he went through and to keeping honest company with him. The maturing of our compassion opens a wild and tender field of relationship in which we hold nothing back by honoring the experience of others, no matter how different from our own. Not only does this sort of compassion extend our circle of healing, but it knits the larger fabric of humanity. Eventually, we're called to inhabit a twin practice of compassion, maintaining our care for those we have something in common with, and extending our care to those whose experience is completely foreign to us. In the writings of this contemporary writer, may we find wisdom for our living.
like I mentioned, we have been in a series of exploring what it means to live from our strengths. And the hope is that we talk about that as a community, but that is also what we are doing as individuals. And so it's like a twofold thing, isn't it? What we talk about as strengths of our community is also hopefully at work within us. We started a few weeks ago with our strength in celebrating diversity and the beautiful way that we've lived as an affirming congregation for 24 years. Our radical inclusivity, our storytelling, our ability to meet needs for those inside and outside these walls is a marvel, and so it's important to build upon. And then we celebrated how our strength of reaching out to those who need it most, bringing awareness and help to issues of poverty and the unhoused, and helping in times of disaster, and spending times in volunteer time to make a difference, how that is such a part of who we are and what we want to build upon. And it's hard to deny when we spend 10 minutes in our invitation and announcement time talking about all the ways that we're helping those outside of our community, that we want to be a part of those initiatives and endeavors, that's so important. Well, of course we have more strengths than this, right? That was only 2. We're just getting going. Today, let's explore the core and the heart of who we are in our compassion and our connection to each other. I want to share a reading from the Christian tradition. It's a little parable story about how life just seems to happen to us when we least expect it. So there's no avoiding others on this journey of spiritual growth, is there? Wherever we turn, there's someone there. There's no such thing as a straight line or an uninterrupted path either. So listen to this story. As Jesus and the disciples were leaving Jericho, a huge crowd followed. Suddenly they came upon 2 blind people sitting alongside the road. When they heard it was Jesus passing, they cried out, "Teacher, have mercy upon us, mercy." The crowd warned them that they should be quiet. But they got all the louder, crying, "Teacher, have mercy on us, mercy." Jesus stopped and called over, "What do you want me to do for you?" And they said, "Teacher, we want our eyes opened. We want to see." Deeply moved with compassion, Jesus touched their eyes. They had their sight back, and they joined the crowd. Well, I've said it once, and I'll say it a million more times. This is a spiritual story. And what that means is that we read it with a particular focus. We aren't concerned with the surface level details of this story. That it at first seems like a quote-unquote miracle being performed. When we come across a story like that seems like it's unbelievable, that seems like it's a miracle, it means we're not looking deep enough. This isn't a concrete, literal, surface-level story. It's a spiritual story. And thus, we look deep in that story beyond the details of plot and action and what's going on to what metaphor and what meaning it's conveying to us. Okay, so are you ready for it? Here we go. This is a really fun little story. You may not think so, but I hope in 5 or 10 minutes you might. 2 people in need have found out that Jesus was passing by. They've cried out to him for help, and we should start with the obvious, shouldn't we? The 2 people on the road, it's not an accident that their affliction is blindness. Spirituality, the world over, religions, the world over, have for millennia concerned itself with people becoming aware, finding enlightenment, seeing in new ways, having sight to view what was previously unseen and unnoticed, be it in the world or within ourselves. So blindness, this story builds upon that time-honored idea. It's a clue that this is a story of meaning and metaphor. Blindness is not just physical. It's psychological, it's emotional, it's spiritual. So when we read this story, right away, we should be clued in. This is alerting me to my blindness. What am I blind to? What am I not seeing? So after that juicy little hint, the story gives us another difficult truth. And amazing that whether in the 1st century or in the 21st century, what happens next in this story always happens. It's amazing that the world has never changed, and yet it has in many ways. People who express a need, who state what they want, who cry out in pain and anguish for help, what happens to them? They're silenced. They are silenced. The crowd, when these people see Jesus passing by and they say, "Please help me, have mercy," the crowd, the ones who are traveling along with Jesus, the loud voices, they say, "You better be quiet." The crowd, the ones who are quite happy with their blinders on because life is going along just fine for them, thank you very much. The ones looking inward enough only to see how their plan is working out ever so well. Those ones want to silence the voices that break that ideal world right open and show a reality that most of us don't really like seeing. So when we read this story, we should also see ourselves as that crowd who would like to not deal with the reality of need, with the world as it is, and asking ourselves, what are we afraid of? Why do we want to silence those voices? Are there just too many needs for us to look at? And what does our privilege deceive us into denying is really going on? Only 2 sentences into this story and we've been wham-bammed into that wake-up call. Thanks a lot. But we're not done. This story's just getting going, and this next part floors me even more. The teacher asks these two what they need. What do they want him to do? And this is really important for us to hear this, because there's no assumptions in this story about what they must be wanting. There's no assumption about what would help these two that are asking for help. There's no automatic, fishing in the pockets and throwing a few coins in their bowl, thinking that'll get rid of them. There's no gesture that says, "Oh, sorry, I have no money." There's no categorizing these two into the preconceived boxes that they must be this kind of person or that kind of person. No, the next act of compassion is curiosity. To find out from the source of the need, what best would help? To refocus our vision to see the human, to see the heart, to be curious about the story and the person at its center. And then we return to these two who were attempted to be silenced, but remember that they keep talking. So this is also a story of empowerment. The crowd who wanted to silence these two for speaking up, and now we see that they will not be silenced. They will not be silenced. Reality can't be denied. Needs of the world cannot be quieted, and they speak up all the louder. When they're asked what they need, they call out, "We want to see." And with that, compassion flows. With the declaration of what they want, then the compassion flows, and they find themselves with their sight, seeing themselves restored. Compassion restores not just blindness, but if we read the last phrase of the story, It says, they had their sight back and they joined the crowd. Compassion restores not just blindness, but it has also restored connection. They've gone from being separated from the crowd, wanting to be silenced and put apart, and somehow, in the midst of declaring what they need and having compassion flow, they've become part of the crowd and part of the community. Compassion can lead to connection. What a teaching in this tiny little story. It's connected, and I wanted to show you a voice other than my own. You will recognize this as a little introduction to a book that was part of a study here some years ago, Karen Armstrong's book on compassion, and I want to share just a little video that was put together as part of that.
Every religion, as I understand them, has a history of intolerance, and every religion has principles for overcoming intolerance.
I want people to hear the compassionate voice of religion. I want to change the conversation and bring compassion to the forefront of people's attention.
Compassion is at the heart of my religion.
And religion, when it's done in a healthy way, should enhance that.
It's recognizing each other's humanity. It's realizing that it doesn't matter if they're Jewish or Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or Islamic, is that they're a fellow human being, that they're suffering, and that that's avoidable.
As a Muslim, you have to submit to the will of God, and submitting to the will of God means that you have to be compassionate and kind to your fellow human beings.
That which is hateful to you, don't do to your fellow.
Love thy neighbor as thyself. I am thy God.
Don't do to others what you wouldn't like them to do to you.
The golden rule is a golden rule in so many different world religions.
And we need to somehow find a way to implement the golden rule globally so that we treat other nations, other peoples, whoever they may be, as we would wish to be treated ourselves. We need a charter for our own souls, for our own sake, but also for the sake of the world, the sake of our perilously divided world, which is, in one sense, drawn together more closely than ever before. The world will be invited to make their own contributions, make their own comments, tell their own stories about compassion or the lack of it.
The bus was rounding a hairpin corner and was suddenly sheared in half by a logging truck. I had broken my back, my pelvis, all my ribs. I had collapsed lungs and major internal injuries. At that point, a young man, not a doctor, not even a nurse, came and sewed up my arm with a needle and thread. And he saw the need, and this young man saved my life.
And that man took off his leather jacket, took off his sweater, and then took his shoes off in the middle of the street, removed his socks, and gave them to the naked man.
And both of them began to cry because it was such a moving experience that this little black lady grew these tomatoes and gave them to someone she didn't know purely out of a sense of love.
I remember she sat with me while I cried, feeling this just unconditional compassion. It felt like I was drinking fresh water.
And that social worker fought for me to be able to stay in school. And from there, my life evolved.
The task of our generation, whether we are religious people or secular people, is to build a global community where people of all persuasions can live together in peace and harmony.
The desire to work for that, regardless of who we are, our uniqueness as people, whether we're here as part of a spiritual community, or more importantly, if we're not, the effort to work toward that kind of compassion is ongoing, is always the call in front of us, and somehow has always been such a strength of this community. I hope you can have the experience with each other that I've witnessed here within this group of people countless times. People being part of this community and seeking to know the real you. Seeking to know not only who you are, but to invite the connection that is deeper than the surface. A connection that better helps us to walk in compassion with each other and then for the world. I've always thought that spiritual communities are the laboratories of living. That we're here to practice. That if we talk about all the values that we have, if we talk about compassion and peace and kindness, that if we're able to live that out with each other, then we've practiced one more time in order to live that out with a total stranger. This is what the Charter of Compassion is getting at, is how do we impact the world with compassion? Well, we impact it because we're good at it. How do we get good at it? We get good at it by practicing it with each other. Just got a little excited there. When we share our celebrations and concerns, our fears and questions with each other, which we'll do just in a moment, we're not doing that because we're morbidly curious for all the gossip. We're doing it because when we share our hearts with each other and what's really going on, we're better able to care for each other. Again, we're practicing what it means to be curious and then turn that curiosity into care and compassion. So again, I'll turn it towards this community. Are you a part of a group in Saskatoon, in Edmonton, or online that helps you feel that connection and that compassion? Have you shared a meal with each other in the lounge at St. Andrew's College? Have you shared a meal here with each other, or muffins, or whatever the case may be? Do you feel that connection in a weekly gathering, or in a Tuesday morning group, or in a choir, or in a musical ensemble? Have you had a phone call or a text from someone just because? Have you worked together side by side at a fundraiser, or a garage sale, or an outreach activity that's helping others, that's linked you with others in meaningful ways? Have you been a recipient of the ministry of our Congregational Care Committee? Offers that they offer in times of challenge and in need. What a strength for that is for us, and how do we build upon it? Because there are some of us that have yet to experience that. That's how we build upon the strengths. That's how we move from strength to strength, is we say, you know what, we are good at that. I've experienced that. Perhaps you've experienced that, but there are some among us today even that have not yet experienced that. There are ways to connect and show compassion that we haven't even considered yet, because we have yet to stop and ask the curious questions. Or maybe we are asking the curious questions and we have one every week to answer. But I'm thinking of questions like, what's going on? How are you doing, really doing? What's going on in your life? Where do you need us? How do you need each other? How can this community help make those opportunities and connections happen? In ways we've done before because we're good at them, or in ways we haven't, and we'll have to stumble a few times to find our way into it, but we know it's right because it's where the need is. So I started this by saying that we were exploring a story of life just happening, because that's the way life is. That we stumble upon need, and then we ask ourselves, how do we address it? Well, there is no avoiding each other on this spiritual journey. We're not hermits. We don't live off by ourselves. There's no such thing as a straight line or an uninterrupted path. We're all learning how to relate to the cascade, as Mark Nepo put it, the cascade of others that rise and fall around us. And we will do that in ways like we always do. We will act from our strengths of our evolving compassion. We are compassion students. We will keep learning and we will keep practicing. And in that way, one at a time, it sounds over the moon, but it's not. It's the truth. One at a time, we connect and care for each other, and thus care and connect the world. This is our strength, and this is where we move to. May it be so in so many ways. And so we spend just a few moments today talking with each other about those questions. What is happening for us? What is happening for those close to us? What is happening in the world that we can bring awareness to open our eyes and open our hearts? We'll share for just a moment, and I invite you to think about those joyous things, those things of challenge and concern in life, and share those at the microphone. And we will have the opportunity to respond to each of those prayers with the phrase that you saw on the wall a moment ago. In this our common need, or in this abundant blessing, your choice of which phrase you might speak, and then we'll all respond, may love abound. And recognizing, too, that those of you at home or wherever you happen to be might want to participate as well, and we will be able to read those out for you here in the room, to text your concerns or joys or whatever's on your heart to us here, and we'll share them in the room with all of us. It's your time.
I was hoping someone would talk about the congregation before I came up, but nobody came. And the thought of being blind and opening your eyes came to me this week. I watched a lecture by Gina Starblanket from Augustana campus of the university, speaking about something called settler reason. And she applied it to the trial of Gerald Stanley, who had a carload of Indigenous people drive onto his property. And he went out. Some of the people left the car, and he said that he had a magic gun in his hand that accidentally shot Colton Boucher. And Gina went over the trial and how that the arguments were presented, many of them not related to the incident, how the jury was selected as all white. They found ways of dismissing any possible juror who was Indigenous, did not look at the fact that they had gone onto the property with a flat tire, and Gerald Stanley had been known as a mechanic who could help. None of those arguments were allowed in, and at the end of the trial, Stanley was dismissed. It wasn't even manslaughter, and an Indigenous man was shot and killed. They didn't think to check whether or not Stanley had been drinking, which he had been out working in the farm, and oftentimes, I guess, I don't know, when you're fencing, you might get tired and drink, and then he had some coffee afterwards. They didn't think to test him. But when they went to Colton's mother, they checked her breath. They'd gone to her house just to tell her about the death of her son. So Gina's presentation was to tell us what settler reason, how we have prejudices that we don't even know, and how we rationalize some of what we do. And it brought to mind an example of my own where I was working, trying to fill my car with something and having trouble. And I often have teenagers from low-cost housing come down my lane, and here was a black man, young man, 15-year-old or 16-year-old. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's coming to hurt me. He was coming to help me. Could I help you, lady? Settler reason. My eyes were opened, and I hope they stay open.
May love abound.
It's a timely announcement. I can't believe the link with Chris's discussion earlier. A number of weeks ago, I told you that we were quite concerned our young grandson was going in to have surgery on his eyes, on one of his eyes, because he was almost blind there. And the surgery went perfectly. Everything is great. He's running around like nothing happened. There's still a few steps to go with new glasses and so on, but it was indeed a real blessing.
In this abundant blessing, we may love abound.
And so the mystery has been solved as to why Terry and Sam aren't here. This from Terry McDougall. Life just happened at our house with a positive COVID test for me. In this our common need.
May love abound.
Thanks. Well, I'll just share just a lovely blessing that happened yesterday. My mom has been really, really ill and really just pretty much a prisoner of her bed for the last couple of weeks, I guess. And my nephew and his wife and their 6-year-old and their 2-month-old came all the way up from Calgary. We were able for Mom, so that Grandma could meet great-grandchild number 1. So we kept them separated by glass, and I hadn't seen, Janet and I both agreed we hadn't seen my mother be, not just look happy, but be so happy to have this special, special time with a baby separated by glass. It was truly a blessing to us just to see Mom out of bed, dressed, in her wheelchair, and actually happy to see us go at the end. Yeah, okay, bye. So that never happens with my mom. So it was a lovely blessing.
In this abundant blessing, may love abound.
And this to SSUC from Virginia Sauvé. I enjoy watching the services online, but I really miss connecting with people in person.
In this our common need, may love abound.
I certainly have a lot to be thankful for, and that is for my mother, who is celebrating this week her 106th birthday. And but it's not only that, it's that she's still in such a good health. She still reads every day, a lot more than I do. She feels good. She is supported by my sister Anne, and she still does her walking every day. So it's such an inspiration to me to have a mother at that age and still inspire me to live my life more fully. And for that, I'm very thankful.
In this abundant blessing, may love abound.
Good morning. My name is Grace. My husband, Joe, is in the back there. We are pretty new, bopping in and out of this community, and just want to thank you for the warm reception and the blessing of connectedness that we've felt here. It's been a big step for us to leave a community we were immersed in for over 45 years and to come here, something different. And I especially enjoy the connection in the musical ensemble. That's been so fun, such a blessing. And Joe and I are on a little bit of an adventure in that we have a young Ukrainian couple staying with us as guests. They don't know one word of English. Well, 3 maybe by now. And she is overdue with her baby, which we hope will happen next week or possibly today. Our phones are with us. So just covet your hearts, hoping that it'll all go well for her.
In this abundant blessing, may love abound.
Wow.
This is from Teresa Jones, who's in our Saskatoon community. For my nephew's loss of a niece who identified as non-binary and who passed by suicide this week. In this
Our common need,
may
love abound.
I'd just like to comment that today, when there's been a lot of focus on light, that I don't know if you've noticed, but this candle has burned perfectly all morning.
Thank you. I was being scammed by the company that put in an air conditioner. I had the help of two friends who were knowledgeable about business, and I submitted a complaint to Service Alberta Consumer Investigations Unit, and I got a call on the morning of February the 15th that they had dropped the charges toward me. I'm not really convinced that I'm out of their hair yet, but sure helps when you find out about a process and you follow that, and it scares the living you-know-what out of them. For this abundant blessing.
May love abound. We are blessed, aren't we, to have community where we can share both our common need and our common blessing. It helps us to care for each other. And for all of these prayers, and of course, as we always say, for the ones that remain silent within our hearts, for just us, we are community for each other. We care for each other, and we extend our compassion so that we can always say, may love abound. We don't stand or sit on tradition here. You can sit when you want and stand when you want. It's totally up to you. But in this moment, we'll take this perfect flame and we'll change it so that it goes with us as smoke, as inspiration, as light, as an ability to see something new and to make what of it what we can. So let's go together as community in peace and love.